Hello, I'm Ads, and today I'll be showing you how I painted my Tyranid Screamer Killer in the Leviathan Hive Fleet colour scheme. Firstly, I started out with the Screamer Killer in sub-assemblies. I left all the arms off the body with the intent of snipping the pegs off and gluing them in later, and the body off of the base. I made sure to align some pins into our feet before constructing the base, then primed the Screamer in Wraithbone and the base in Mechanicus Standard Grey. I'll not detail how I made and painted the base here, we're just concentrating on the beast on top of it, but it was pretty simple, it might be worth talking about in another video. Something else to quickly note is the head swap. I'm using a 2-page Screamer head from Hive Delta over the Danny DeVito lookalike one. I'll leave a link below for it. It's free, you just pay for the shipping. Takes a little bit of trimming and filling to get it to fit, but I like the look of it. While holding her either by the carapace or the hooves, I doused all of the skin with a 1-to-2 mix of Magos Purple and Contrast Medium to put that pinkish tinge into the skin. Use a good sized brush, be sure to push the paint into all the recesses, and try not to let it pool too much later to help with the relayering step. When it's dry, time to hunker down and relayer all of the skin with Screaming Skull. Water your paint down more than usual to help with the transition and leave some of the Magos Purple in the deeper recesses. When you're done, highlight it with Pallid Wych Flesh, then use pure white as a top highlight. The skin is easily the biggest part of the mini and can feel like a never-ending chore to do if you're relayering like I am. If you're the type to have multiple projects on the go at once, consider breaking the skin into sections and painting something else in between. Otherwise, just find your groove and take your time, you'll get it eventually. To mix up the skin areas, I then washed Volupus Pink, mixed 2-to-1 with Contrast Medium over anything you could deem internal flesh. So looking at the splits in the cream skin, the inside of the mouth and the pipes around the neck, things like that. Swap into a smaller brush for the hard to reach details and try and be as clean as you can. Contrast over large areas like the back of the legs can come out quite patchy, so to help clean that up I did a relayering pass with Pink Horror. I then mixed Pink Horror and Kislev Flesh 50-50 for a thin highlight, pure Kislev Flesh for a second, and a last dot highlight of Pallid Wych Flesh. Next I blocked the hooves and leg armouring with black. I'll do the carapace when I can glue the mini to its base. Take your time around the areas that meet the cream, as it'll be a pain to clean it off if you get it on there and let it dry in. If you do overspill, try and wash it off with a damp brush, and failing that you'll want to bring back your previous colours and relayer over the splodge. I did the hooves, leg claws and tail spike next, as I quite like to glue onto the base to make handling her less perilous. So I glazed Khorne Red towards the sharp ends of all those surfaces. I then use Evil Sunz Scarlet, Wild Rider Red, and Fire Dragon Bright to highlight each, doing simple line highlights on the leg claws and drawing striations on the tail spike and hooves. The claws and spike also get a dot of Lugganath Orange on the sharp tips. I finished painting the leg and hard to reach armour at this point, so don't mind the jump in progress in the next shot. I'm about to explain it all, promise. Now she's a bit more stable and the base is to my liking, I blocked in and worked on the carapace. Firstly, I base coated with black again, then glazed Naggaroth Night towards the end of each plate. The intent here is to fool the eye into thinking the whole thing is a dark purple catching light towards the end. You can also dry brush if glazing is a struggle, or skip this step entirely if you'd like. I just like the look of it. When the glazing is dry, I then draw the striations with Xerius Purple, Genestealer Purple, and Slaanesh Grey. The trick to getting a good pattern on here is control. You want to be as well rooted to the desk as you can be through your elbows, resting your wrist comfortably, and then draw the lines in the most comfortable way you can. I like to draw from top to bottom where I can, as it feels the most right to my hand. The whole process of painting the carapace is quite a test of patience on this mini, as there's just so much chitin to paint. You can see in the footage that I went ahead on certain areas just to get a sense of finishing part of it, and see the effect come together. Take your time, break it apart into blocks if you need to, and just keep going. It'll be worth it in the end. I was really happy with how it looked. My Tyranids make use of carapace markings for a little bit of flair, so by all means skip this if you're not into the look of it. I use real life beetles for reference, which plays hell with my entomophobia, but it's for art, darling. In this case I settled on a garden fruit chafer. After some heavy breathing for bravery, I started by loosely sketching the design on with Jakero Orange, widening from there as I needed. After a couple coats, the patterns are then relaid entirely with Trollslayer Orange, and washed into the darker recesses with Fuegan Orange, feathering the wash to keep a gradient. I put a few glazes of Iriel Yellow along the markings to get them nice and opaque, then brighten them up with Flashgitz Yellow. I then use Moondust to mimic the same striation patterns from the purple, matching them up where I can, and add a final point highlight with Pallid Wych Flesh. Before I put on the arms and paint those, I did the eyes and mouth. For the eyes, I based the whole eyeball in with Avalan Sunset, and washed it back with thin Druchii Violet, mostly trying to settle it around the outside. I relayer with thinned Avalan Sunset to even out the wash, then again with Iriel Yellow. I don't put pupils in the eyes of my nids, so just a reflective highlight of pure white finishes those off. For the teeth, they get a base coat of Rakarth Flesh and a wash of Agrax Earthshade. I relayer the Rakarth Flesh, highlight with Pallid Wych Flesh, and dot with white just to finish them off. At this point I stick the arms on and paint the skin up in the same way I did the rest, starting with the lower arms first. The claws were blocked in with black, then I repeat similar steps as on the hooves, first glazing corn red across the blades, then again and an edge highlight with Evil Sunz Scarlet. I repeat the edge highlighting step then with Wild Rider red and Fire Dragon bright in smaller increments, before dotting the sharp points with Lugganath orange. The carapace sections are then painted in like the rest of the body, and I repeat the same thing with the upper arms. At this point I add any final effects to the mini, such as weathering powders and Yoo-Hoo glue jewel to the mouth. And with that, that's how I painted my Screamer Killer. Big Tyranids can be a bit of a test of patience, but they're so worth the amount of effort you put in. She's quite the eye catcher, I think. If you have any questions, or if I skipped over something too quickly, leave a comment below and I'll get back to you. Thanks again for watching, good luck with your own Screamer Killer, and I'll see you again soon.